All right, so I made a video that was basically popular books that I read because of Booktube. Everyone loved it, so many 5 stars. I never heard a single negative thing about it, and I actively hated these books. And I just ranted for a little while saying I hated these books very quickly. Didn't go into too much detail, but still, a little too negative for the tone I want to do on this channel. I want to be positive, but I also don't want to ignore that some books just aren't for everyone. It also gives a good feel of reading taste. Just for an example, most of these recommendations from a certain booktuber area that I'm like, okay, so if this person hates this book, I'm probably going to like it. And if they love this book, I'm still going to read it because we agree on certain books and certain thrillers. But I'm going to keep my expectations kind of medium because we have different opinions in the past. So just to add some positivity, I'm going to insert clips now of when Booktube stared me right. The best books I read that I would not have read of without Booktube's recommendations. The first being, of course, the Dresden Files. Do you think I'm going to go a video without talking about the Dresden Files? It's not going to happen. I read this because Daniel Green did a video on changes, and I'm like, okay, 12th book in a series, I gotta read that, so I guess I gotta read the first 12. I can't just read that one book. The Dresden Files is now my favorite thing in the world. I love the Dresden Files so much. My favorite series. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. I've gushed about this channel before. Just the characters and the world. I never would have picked this book up without video recommendations here on YouTube, so I'm so happy for that. All right, today I woke up and chose violence because here's a list of the most popular books that I have seen online, highly recommended, that I have not only disliked but actively hated / regret reading. Starting off with the least offensive on this list, we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This was my first V.E. Schwab, and I admit that the writing is beautiful. I loved the actual writing of this book. It was fantastic, but that is the only thing I liked about it. This book came across as pretentious and, I don't know, self-gratifying. I have no sweet clue how to describe this book, but basically the main character can get anyone to fall in love with her in like one meeting, become the muse of so many famous artists and influential people across history. We are going through decades of human history and not talking about, like, she's not helping too much in the wars. What does she feel about how progression of social norms, the slave trade, anything like that? Like, so much could be talked about in terms of history and anthropology, but we're just, oh, art is wonderful. I'm going to be the muse, and these stars and constellations are freckles across my face. Over and over again, the repeating lines. I will also say that the curse element is the best, was very thought out, and I did enjoy that aspect of it. Another thing I disliked about it, the relationships. Don't get me wrong, one of the two relationships was extremely entertaining, very combative, very toxic, but they're always on guard and snippy little comments. Love their dynamic. But the supposed love interest, there was no chemistry there. It was a relationship of convenience. It was, hey, you're kind of my only option, so I'm going to be in love with you and sacrifice myself for you. I hated this book. I hated this book. Next, we have The Midnight Library. A slightly more offensive to me than Addie LaRue, because Addie LaRue, again, beautiful writing, just didn't connect with the characters or the plot. The Midnight Library took an oversimplified explanation of mental health where, I don't know, therapy and medication weren't really necessary. Just, it really felt like to me, hey, trigger warning stuff happens. We try a different life, still unhappy with this life. You know the plot beats of the story from like page 1. Obviously, they're going to figure out that the life that they were already living is the best one and just make the best of it. And then your depression and mental health issues will just go away on their own. I don't understand the hype of this book. I like the concept. Did not like the execution. I'm very happy that mental health was talked about in the forefront and that it raised some good conversations. And if you got something from this book and felt connected and motivated and it helped you in some way, I am so happy for you. To me, that message did not come across at all. Books with just great plot. We have The Kind Worth Killing. Again, never would have picked it up without Booktube. It is fantastic. The plot of this, I just refer to it as my twisty twist book because I had no idea what was going on. The plot twist that happens at a certain point, I was floored. I'm blown away. I have yet to read a book that does this, and I need to. Without any specifications or specifics, the one that happens, if anyone can tell me of another book that does this, I need to read it. I don't care that you're spoiling that book for me. I don't care. Just tell me what book does this. The Night Swim was a fantastic book. Granted, it is in my almost person. I think it's on this corner of the screen. Besides point. It is on my list of, it was almost perfect. I had some issues with it, but the podcast element, just the formatting of this book, oh, I loved it so much. Other books with great worlds, you have The Test. I can't even remember where I heard about this book from, but like the little bit of sci-fi dystopian futureness of this book, it was fantastic. Into the Drowning Deep. I was told Killer Mermaids. That's all I needed to know about this book recommendation on Booktube. That's all I needed. I read it, loved it. All right, here's another one that a lot of my friends who don't even like reading have given me a bad time for. The Shining. I read this book in high school, so I do need to reread it to see if my opinion maintains the same, but I hated this book. I hated it so much. We have like I don't know how old the kid is, 7, 5, I don't remember how old he is, but he's the narrator, and I swear, he goes on for like 7 pages describing a fire extinguisher. And I don't know, talking about how he watches the emergency room so he can read emergency on the fire extinguisher case. That is like burned into my brain. I'm pretty sure I haven't made up that memory. Like I said, I need to reread it. Oh, I remember hating this book in high school. On top of that, the movie was boring. Everyone was a lot of screaming, and I did not connect with characters. I did not connect with the plot. I'm sure the book goes deeper into the minds of the characters, so maybe I will like it upon reread. But for the time being, I despise this book and the 7 pages describing a fire extinguisher that I remember. The Turn of the Key. You can only describe a child as being, I don't know, crazy, screaming, obnoxious little demons before it becomes frustrating and not gripping, not suspenseful. I'll take it this. When they were playing like hide and seek and one of them was kind of like missing and they were freaking out, like if I'm babysitting someone, they're not allowed at my sight for more than like 20 seconds. Hide and seek is not an option when I'm babysitting. So, yeah, very suspenseful in that opening little bit, but then as it drags on, I'm just like, I hate these kids, quit. Then the ending happens. That was ridiculous. Absolutely turn off your brain, set this book on fire. I hated that ending. And the smart house elements of this book that was praised, not even close to taken full advantage of. No. I did not like this book. I regret ever reading this book. Woman in the Window. Oh my God, did I hate this book. If I wasn't on a train with nothing else to do, no other book, train and a plane, sorry, I was traveling. I had nothing else to read, and I legit regret not just staring out the window and paying attention to nothing. This book, A, predictable, and B, boring, and every single plot twist was spelled out so far in advance that I didn't know was plot twist. I just assumed, okay, this is the plot we're going with. And then it was revealed, and then it was like re-revealed and explained. And I'm just like, you did not need to spell this out. Trust me, it was obvious. I felt like the reader was talking down to me, or the author was talking down to me. I hate over-explaining something. I hate villainous monologues. I hated this book. I was bored the entire time. Books with just amazing character work. I am so happy that people gave me this recommendation. Jade City, not thriller, it's a fantasy crime kind of thing, but so good. I never would have picked this up without Booktube. the last thing he told me, and for your own good, I just love the characters in this so much. Family dynamics and weird moralities and just the thought process of someone in this book. It's just great. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Ninth House. These books had such amazing character works. Vastly different books, other than the fact I love the characters. I don't know why I'm lumping these together. You got like historical fiction, memoir-y stuff and society versus fantasy and ghost, dark academia. But they're so good. Never would have picked these up without YouTube. My Dark Vanessa. Oh my god. Okay, this one you need trigger warnings for. Don't just like pick this one up. Child abuse, predatories, pedophilia. Lolita is this character's favorite book. Let's just put it that way. But oh my god, the character work in this. The exploration, the journey she goes on, the self-realization. Oh, so good. The Vanishing Half. I love this book. Kind of historical fiction, I guess, contemporary. Don't know. Family dynamics. It's so well done. The Push. Another one for me that nothing happens. Nothing happened this entire book. I was beyond bored, and then the last page happened. I probably could have chalked this up to a book that just wasn't for me. But then the last page happened, the last sentence happened, and I'm like, this would have been a good book. This would have been an awesome story. Why didn't we continue on for here? Why did we spend like 300 pages setting up, I don't know what the hell we were setting up, only for the last page to be perfect, and that should have been the beginning of the story. All right, Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I appreciated that one, just wasn't for me. 3 stars, whatever. Just not for me. Final Girl Support Group. Oh my god, 1 star. No creativity was taken. Everything is just like a rehash of popular horror slasher movies with no unique spins on it. And then the author is just writing a story and explaining everything out in so much detail. You could have trusted me that if these characters were doing something for their own protection and their paranoia and because of their trauma, the repetitiveness of them doing it would have clicked in my head of, oh, this is what they're doing to make themselves feel safe. These are the security measures they're putting in place. You don't have to spell out every single time that they're doing this because they went through a trauma, and this is how it protects them, how they make sure they're not being followed, how they make sure XYZ is happening. I would have figured it out. You did not have to spell it out for me. I hate feeling like the author is talking down to me like I couldn't figure this out for myself. Then that twist happens at the end, and it's just cliche, like the rest of this book. The guest list. I recognize this to be a me issue. We have a whodunit. We also have like maybe a whydunit. But besides the point, person is murdered. Cool. And we have a cast of characters, and they are the only options for the murderer. Yep, no, that's great. That is my kind of story. Excellent. Except we don't figure out who was even murdered till the very end. So we're trying to figure out both who the killer is and who the murder victim is. So I'm like, I need one. I need to know who one of these people are to enjoy this story so I can start piecing clues together. Because I have too many unknowns. If I don't know who was murdered and I don't know who the murderer is, what am I reading? The lead up and the ending when both are revealed at the same time, I'm like, cool. Do I have to reread this book now to put everything together and be like, oh, this is the motivation? No, I can't, because you spelled out the motivation at the end as well. I wasn't given the opportunity to come up with my own theories and motivations because I had to come up with theories and motivations for every single character for if they were the murder victim and therefore who would have murdered them. I needed more information to enjoy this book. This is a me issue, 100%. All these things are me issues, obviously, because these are very popular books. Books with great atmosphere. I loved One by One, this wintry setting, lock room mystery. Someone's been killed. There's an avalanche, so they're all trapped together and they don't know who the murderer is. A little predictable, but it was so good. The Final Empire. I mean, Sanderson's world building and magic system. Do I really even need to say it? But oh, this could also go in with just fantastic characters. I loved these characters so much. It's a crime I haven't continued in this series. It's my fault. I have every time I go to want to continue the series, I need to buy it because my library doesn't have it. And then there's some other series I'm like, you know what, I've already spent money on this. I can't get this one yet, and I really need to. Other books include Hench. Just the tone of this book, sarcastic, funny, brutal, bloody, great times. I loved Hench. I need a sequel. The fact that I didn't know that this was supposed to be a sequel. Booktube really should have told me that. So good. I need a sequel. The Shadows, like, I think this is just my favorite atmosphere in books. So creepy. Deals with lucid dreaming. I love this book. Also, Lock Every Door. You got that gothic atmosphere and the twist at the end that I should have seen coming. I'm still kicking myself for not. I loved it. The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I don't know if this is a premise thing or a world thing. I just loved that little sci-fi twist element of it. The same way Mexican Gothic, I loved the atmosphere of it. And also on that one, Mexican Gothic, I had a theory of what was going to happen, and I thought my theory was crazy. I did not go far enough into crazy. What I thought was going to happen was not crazy enough. And when I was telling people what I thought was going to happen in this book, they looked at me like I grew another head. They're like, Jessica, that's you're reaching. That's not going to happen. I was close. I just didn't go far enough into crazy. The Maidens and the Silent Patient. Just incompetent therapists. That's all I'm saying about this. I did not enjoy this book. I've ranted about it enough. Incompetent therapist. He started it. Just the entire book. The characters, I don't like family dynamics when they don't like each other. I don't like how things are being kept from the reader that the point of view character that we are following knows about. They know secret number 1 and secret number 2 and event number 3, but have not revealed it to the reader, and we are in their head. So when something comes up, just not in this book, completely random example, but like, when we were 7, we were kidnapped by this person here, and now they're in jail. Again, did not happen in this book. I'm making something up random. And then it's revealed as a shock that this person is in their lives or something like that. I'm just like, you couldn't have brought this up sooner? This important character in your history and life and family or something? Not irrelevant? What? I should have known about this. You knew about that, therefore I should have known about that. This should not have been a twist or reveal. A twist and reveal should be something the character finds out and is revealed to the character, not something that the character knew about and halfway through the book is revealing to the reader. All right, those are my rants. I'm sorry, I did not like these books. I regret reading them. They were so heavily pushed on YouTube, Booktube, Instagram, saw them everywhere. People were raving and loving about them. So many 5 stars that I just did not get. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go. This was my rant review for a number of books that I've read and didn't like. I want to be positive on this channel, so this is my one splurge of the books that I've read in the past that I wish I liked. I wanted to rant about upon reading them. But again, this is supposed to be a positive channel. So we're only going to do this like once a year at the end / beginning of the year for my history books. So I can just do this once. Okay. I am so happy that Booktube gives great recommendations. I love most of them. I was always going to read books like Game of Thrones, and I think I knew about The Wheel of Time starting off. There was a couple thrillers, your classic, your Rosemary's Baby, Frankenstein, all those I would have picked up on my own. But the books on this list in this time frame, not my ranting self, I never would have picked up without Booktube, and I'm so happy for it. So thank you for giving me fantastic book recommendations. I'll go through a couple of the slogs of the popular books that just weren't for me, if it means I get so many amazing books that I'm going to love. All right. See ya.